Hi everyone, welcome back to Excel spreadsheets. In this episode, we are going to learn how to use Excel VLOOKUP formula. By anybody who has used Excel ever would have heard about the VLOOKUP formula. Okay, let me back it up a minute. I know that's a preposterous argument, but then VLOOKUP plays such an important role that you can define your whole Excel learning experience into two eras. One, before you know how to use VLOOKUP, and two, after you use VLOOKUP. That's how important learning VLOOKUP is. It can change your total outlook towards Excel and the way you deal with data. Why is this such a powerful formula anyway? It's because VLOOKUP gives you the ability to look up for a particular value in a large list of values by using a formula. Now this might seem like a useless functionality for someone who never used Excel, but once you start using Excel and you work with the lists of data, for example a simple customer database like the one that you are seeing here with name and phone number, it is extremely useful because if the list is like just 5 names, you could always look up what is Karen's phone number by scanning this list and finding out that this number. But it is impossible to do that when your list has something like 1,000,000 rows or even a few hundred rows. Then it is not possible, and in most cases you would love to have the value automatically pulled out and given to you for some other processing, like maybe generating an address label or initiating a call or writing a letter or something like that. In such cases, you would like to use a formula to get the value out, and that is where VLOOKUP plays an all-important role. So in today's lesson, we are going to look at the VLOOKUP formula, understand how it works, and learn some simple examples to access it. Let's get started. The VLOOKUP formula, I'm going to write a simple VLOOKUP formula here so that we can explain the syntax of this with if you take a minute and try to look at this little text here, it says VLOOKUP. It is asking, the first parameter is the lookup value. What is the value that you want to look up? And the second parameter is the table array, the list or the table where these values are placed. And the third parameter is column index number. What this says is VLOOKUP will always look up for a value in the leftmost column in the table. So let's try to write an example so it's much more easier for to understand. Let us look up Karen's phone number. In this table, I want to find out where Karen is. And once you find Karen, give me the value in the second column. See, this is the first column by default, so just give the value in second column. And the fourth parameter, which is an optional one, what it says is true or false. When you say false here, it means that your list is not sorted in an alphabetical order on the first column, so you want Excel to keep looking until it finds an exact match. But if for some reason if your list is sorted, then you could just leave it out and Excel will find the first match that is approximate to Karen, and which is going to be since the list is sorted, it is easy for Excel to find out. Otherwise you have to mention false here. So from practical point of view, you might want to just keep false all the time so that Excel will try to find an exact match for your value you're looking for. Okay, this is funny, this because of the number formats, it just showed it like an exponential number, but this is the phone number. Of course, due to the number formatting. Okay, now you see that Karen's phone number is 886-811-8730. Isn't this very simple? Once you understand how to write such a formula, it's very easy for you to fetch values and use them in other formulas or other scenarios without having to really look up the value yourself. You're asking Excel to do the lookup job for you. There are a lot of practical uses for this. For example, you could just set up a simple grade table, like grade A is, this is the minimum marks you need to get grade A, grade B, grade C, grade D or something like that. And then based on the student marks, you can use VLOOKUP to just find out what grade the student should be given. Like that, there are many possible scenarios. For example, you could just set up a product table with product code and product name, and from the transaction table where the sales are all entered by product codes, you can just find out what is the product name for a given product and things like that. Now you can use VLOOKUP to even find partial matches. For example, you want to find anybody starting with JAM, this table, and then get their phone number. That's James for you. Here. See? So you need not give a complete name. You can just give partial name along with an asterisk, and then Excel will find out. But how do I how to make use of VLOOKUP much more? For example, let us say you have phone number and you want to find out the name. Now remember, the VLOOKUP has one constraint, that the lookup will only happen in the first column. So if you have a phone number, you can look up here, but you can only fetch values in the columns here, but not here, because VLOOKUP will go from left to right like this. Now that's not really funny, isn't it? You would like to have the name of the customer once you know the phone number. Now that's pretty simple too. You can use a similar formula called match. Now what match does is, it does everything that VLOOKUP does. Only thing is that it will not it will tell you in the list at what position the phone number is. Let me show you. Let's write a match formula and then look up for 921-264-2531. Now that is James's phone number in this array, and match type has to be 0 because you want to look up for the exact phone number, not something that is less than or greater than. Remember, you cannot use the less than or greater than operators unless the list is sorted in ascending or descending order. Now this tells me that the phone number is the fourth number in this list. 1, 2, 3, 4. So once you know that this is the fourth number in this list, all you have to do is get the fourth number in this list. Now for that, there is a formula called index. Obviously you might be overwhelmed at this point knowing all these new formulas, but believe me, these are very powerful and very useful formulas, and they're very easy to learn. Nothing new. I mean, if you work with Excel more than a few hours every week, you might as well spend that extra 5-10 minutes trying to learn these formulas, because it's going to make your life a lot simpler and a lot easier, believe me. So what I'm going to do is, in this list, get me the value in this fourth row. There you go. Now this is using two cells. You could just use one cell to do this whole logic by writing index of this array and match with the number 921-264-2531 this list. Now just take a look at this formula once again. What we are trying to do is, we are trying to find out where this phone number 921-264-2531 is in this list between C4 to C14, and we are trying to find an exact match for the value. And once the match is found, we are asking Excel to return the position of that match using this match formula, and then return the corresponding item in this list. This combination is called as index match combination. It is a powerful way to write the VLOOKUP formula, wherein you want to look up the values on the left side of the list, not on the right side of the list. But if you want to get the right side values, you could just use VLOOKUP formula and then give the column number. Now this is a very, very interesting way to approach the problem, and when you have the phone number, you could get the name of the customer and vice versa. Remember, VLOOKUP formulas return an error if it cannot find anything, and it's the same with match formula as well. let us try to look up for Chandu in this list and then get my phone number. Excel promptly tells you that there is no value like Chandu find in this list by returning this #NA error. Okay, so whenever you get such an error, it might be annoying to see that error, so you may want to actually wrap this in some kind of error handling. If you have Excel 2007 and above, you can use this formula called if error. If this formula returns an error, just show blank. That's pretty cool, isn't it? The moment you replace this with something like James, it's going to show the number. And we change it to John, who is not in our list, it just shows blank. Or you could just write something like not found. Okay, so this is a very interesting way to use VLOOKUP formula. By the way, if you don't have Excel 2007 and above, but you are using like Excel 97 or Excel 2003, you can still use error handling, but this time you have to use an if formula along with is error formula. It's a bit lengthy, but then it's probably worth the effort to write that extra piece of code so that you don't see this ugly #NA messages every time you try to do a lookup. I hope you understand how the VLOOKUP formula works and you find some really nice and interesting uses for it in your day-to-day work. You can learn more about VLOOKUP formula by visiting chandu.org and then searching for the VLOOKUP. There are several great examples. VLOOKUP is one of the most versatile and most used formulas in Excel, so I write about it every now and then in some new ways and some interesting uses of VLOOKUP. So I'd suggest you go ahead and explore this functionality a bit more as it pokes your curiosity, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Thank you.